Hello, and today I want to talk about, is it okay to have never tried? And by try, I mean really dig deep and try hard. Because earlier this week I was thinking, well, what's the hardest thing that I've ever done? And you can interpret hard as in many ways. Like, for example, a really hard thing I'd done in my life was when I left home. I quit my electrical engineering job to live in Israel for a year on a kibbutz, and that was hard. I just finished my 3-year apprenticeship, and I quit to basically throw it all away to do some volunteering in Israel for a year, and I didn't know where I was going and what it was going to be like, and you're leaving everything behind. Now that was hard, but it wasn't hard where I had to knuckle down for a long period of time where you fail and you get back up, and you fail and you get back up, and you fail and you get back up for the last time, and this time you succeed and you really smash and accomplish your goal. And I've never had to do that. And part of the reason why, I think that the whole reason behind it is because at school I was very, very gifted. So I could achieve top grades throughout school with minimal effort. And I did. I achieved the top grades in my year when I left school. And don't get me wrong, like, I did put in effort. I did revise, and I did try, but I didn't really dig deep and put my 100% all into it, because I knew I didn't have to. And what that has done, that has just carried with me throughout my entire adult life. I've never dug deep. The lesson I basically learned from school is I don't need to dig deep, because I can still get what I need to get. And that has shown. Basically what I've done is I try lots of new things, lots of new hobbies and jobs, and usually what happens is the beginner and novice and maybe intermediate stages, I'm doing well, like I'm above average at learning. And then you get to a certain point where it's like, to go to the next level, you actually have to really try hard. You're going to keep failing, and you need to practice to get past this hump. And whenever it comes to that point, I just give up and be like, it's no longer enjoyable. That's not for me. And what that has done is, I'm one of those people who are, a jack of all trades and yet a master of none. And I don't think I'll ever be a master of anything. And it kind of does, it disappoints me in a sense, because I know I have the hardware to be a master of something. Like, up here, I can learn something to be a master. I just don't have, I don't have that dog in me to actually grind it out. And it's that bit within you that really elevates people to the next level. So I left with the best grades in my year at school, but the person that got the second best grades, he comes from a Chinese family, And he was gifted, but his work ethic was incredible. Like, as you know, the Chinese, they really, really push their children to study hard. And I remember looking at what he had to do study-wise, and I was like, geez, I'm glad I'm not that. I'm glad I'm not you. And yet now, if you look at us both, well, he's gone on to do crazy things with his career. He earns a hell of a lot of money because he has that incredible work ethic and a natural gift. And I am surviving on barely above minimum wage. And it really goes to show how much trying hard makes a difference. And I mean, the extent at which I've actually tried hard in my life, it doesn't go that far. I think the hardest I try at is physical stuff. So the gym, I've been doing that for coming up to 12 years now. And at the start, I try really hard trying to get my food in at the right time, training at the right time, blah, blah, blah. But as it evolved, I now have narrowed it down to 2 days a week hitting the weights, and each of those sessions is in between 30 and 40 minutes. So essentially what I do, without even thinking too hard about it, I try to do the bare minimum that I need to do in order to reach my goal. And it's incredible. Like, I'm just very good at doing the bare minimum. It's somewhat a skill, but it's not an impressive skill. And it's not one that I'm particularly proud of. I'm not ashamed of it, but it's not one that you can flaunt. It's not like a skill that you can proudly flaunt. I mean, yet, like things that I have tried in life. I tried chess. Got good, probably up to the novice bit where, you can beat most people that you'd ever bump into at a game of chess. But, when you start playing like the intermediates and, the real good novices, and you're like, you have to learn theory and stuff, and I thought, nah, that's not fun anymore. So pack that in. Bouldering, I progressed at that really, really well. And then when it was like you have to really train your fingers, and you do these particular exercises to strengthen your hands, and also you can't just do a route, like start a route and do it within 1 to 5 tries. You have to spend hours and hours just doing little parts of each route, and it's like, yeah, that's not for me. I tried doing Spanish, could do the basics, and then when it got to really understanding how languages work, pack that in. Yeah, I mean, currently I'm doing kickboxing. I do enjoy that though, so who knows how long this can go on for, but I'm getting injured, so it's actually my body is trying to stop me from trying too hard at that. I did keyboard as a kid, progressed really well at that. When it got too hard, I quit. So it's just in me to quit. And I think being born in this timeline makes me feel guiltier than what I should. If I was born 50 or 60 years ago, like not 50 or 60 years ago, but 50 or 60 years before I was born, then the time I would have grown up in, I think I would have felt less guilty for not wanting to work hard, because I wouldn't have needed to work as hard. I would have had a wife, and that would have either not worked or worked only part-time, so she could focus on the work that is involved in the house, the cooking and the cleaning, which is respectable. I think they're very, very important jobs. And I would have had a full-time job that would have paid better. Even if it was minimum wage, it would have still paid better in relation to what it does now. And I could have supported a family, and with not needing to do the housework, which I need to do now myself, I would have had more free time. And then I could have gone on to do more hobbies and actually not been just so focused on working, which I don't find very interesting. I like to do more entertaining stuff than work. And I wouldn't have felt guilty because I could have raised a family and I could have enjoyed it. But in the timeline I live, I have to work full time. I have to come back, I have to cook, I have to clean. And I have to try and squeeze in hobbies here and there. And then it's like, because I'm not earning that much money, I feel guilty that I'm not pushing myself to try and earn these bigger wages. And I think that's what it is, why I feel guilty for not trying too hard, because I don't think I should feel this guilty for not failing at life, but not achieving greatness. And then, fortunately, a part of me is kind of glad I didn't try hard, because I don't want a family. I don't like the world in which I live in, and I wouldn't want to be born right now, so I don't want to bring children into this world. And because I don't want children in this world, well, I don't need to earn more money to support that family that I'm not going to have. So I can get away with not working hard. On top of this, the more money that I earn, the greater taxes that I'll pay, which again will only fund my own replacement in this country. And being a straight white man, in any high-level field, you have the most competition, because people from minorities backgrounds, minority because they're not going to be minorities for much longer, or if you're a female, then even with lower qualifications, you will still get picked due to DEI regulations and targets that they have to hit. So I would have to work so hard in order to achieve something that people from other physical backgrounds, like ethnic backgrounds, would have to work in order to achieve the same thing. And again, that would get me down anyway. And even if I did achieve something great, well, this country, once you've done your thing, like for the country, once they've extracted all that they can from you, they have no problems with throwing you under the bus. If you're still not what they want. And like an example of this is Alan Turing, the creator of the first computer, the guy that was able to break the Enigma code in World War II. He really helped turn the tide of the war. And after the war, they found out that he was gay, and they basically imprisoned him, and I think like lobotomized him through chemicals, or castrated him through chemicals, and really did a number on him after he helped win them the war. And it's like, there's no thanks in working hard for humanity. Another example is Nikola Tesla. Like, he put in so much effort into trying and progress humanity, like catapult humanity further in technology, and he died a lonely, broke man. I'm not saying I'm on these people's levels. I'm just saying that even people on those levels that work hard to try and achieve greatness for their people, it doesn't benefit them in any way. So it's like, well, why try hard if even those people are thrown to the side once that they've extracted everything from them? You know, what would they have done to me? Because I'm nothing compared to those men. So yeah, it just, that helps me like feel much less guilty, knowing that you wouldn't have been respected for all the work that you put in anyway. So if you don't enjoy working hard, it really doesn't pay. And in conclusion, I think that it's far too late for me to ever rewire my brain into digging deep and trying hard. You know, it's basically 30 years of training of trying to do the bare minimum to achieve your objective. And I just need to accept that, you know, I wasn't destined for greatness. Like most people, I'm not destined for greatness. But what I have done is I've achieved being interesting, at least. And I know that sounds egotistical, but my life is interesting. It has been very interesting. I've done a lot of different things because of my refusal to dig deep, my ability to try lots of new things and do it to an okay level and then move on. And that's unique to me. So I should be happy with me. And maybe in the future I will try something new that I thoroughly enjoy. Now, it might be making videos, it might be doing kickboxing, the things that I already enjoy, well, already do, and I do enjoy it. Or maybe it is something that I don't know yet. And, you know, one day I might come to a point where I'm like, no, it's time to dig deep, it's time to really try hard at this. And yeah, I failed, but it's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep going, and even if I fail again, I'm going to keep going. That might be me in the future. I don't know, but it might not. And either way, that's okay. You know, I'm not an extraordinary person, so I don't need to be disappointed that I'm not an extraordinary person. So yeah, it's just food for thought. Like, what's the hardest thing that you've ever done? And I mean, there are hard things in life. Like, I continuously live. Like, that's a hard thing for me, but it's not what I mean. It's what is it where you've had to really dig deep to try and finish a goal that you've set out for yourself. And yeah, just think about that. So that's everything for this video today. That's been my expression of depression. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if so, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.